You've probably heard the term DevOps thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean? Well, it's way more than just a buzzword. It's a huge shift in how software gets built. So let's dive in and break down what it is and why it's so important. To really wrap your head around DevOps, you first have to understand the problem it was designed to solve. And at its core, it's really a story about two teams who traditionally wanted completely opposite things. So on one side, you've got your developers. Their main goal, ship new features and updates as fast as humanly possible. They live and breathe speed. And on the other side, you've got the operations team. Their job is to keep the lights on, to make sure everything is rock solid and reliable. They need stability. And you can see the problem right there, can't you? Constant change is literally the enemy of stability. So, what happens when you have these two critical teams pulling in totally opposite directions? Well, you get slow, painful releases bogged down in red tape. And even worse, when new code finally gets pushed out, all of that friction often creates bugs, errors, and those super frustrating outages for your user. All right, so why did this big divide between dev and ops even exist in the first place? Let's dig into some of the root causes. It really boils down to three big issues. First, there was no shared ownership. Developers would literally finish their code and just toss it over the wall to operations, and that was that. Second, there was pretty much zero automation, which meant every step was manual, slow, and super easy for someone to mess up. And finally, there was no feedback loop. When things broke in production, that critical information almost never made it back to the developers who could actually fix the root cause. And this, right here, is where DevOps enters the picture. Now, notice the very first words here are cultural philosophies. That is so key. DevOps isn't some tool you can just buy off a shelf. It's a fundamental shift in mindset, a new way for teams to work together, to deliver value to customers, both quickly and reliably. Okay, so if it's a philosophy, what does that actually look like day to day? Well, it really breaks down into this simple but super powerful formula with just two key ingredients. Yeah, this is it, the core equation. DevOps is the sum of a collaborative culture and a set of disciplined practices, and you absolutely cannot have one without the other and expect it to work. They're totally intertwined. The culture part is all about smashing those silos. You break the walls down by bringing everyone, development, operations, quality assurance, even security, onto the same team. And here's the most important part. They all now share the exact same goal: delivering a great, stable product. And you make that culture possible with two incredibly powerful practices. First, automation, which gets rid of all that slow, error-prone manual work with scripts. And second, continuous delivery, which is all about creating a reliable, almost boring pipeline to get new code out to users safely and quickly. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does a modern DevOps workflow actually look like in the real world? Let's walk through it. The one guiding principle, the absolute mantra you'll hear over and over is this: automate everything. Seriously. If a task is repetitive, you script it. If a process is manual, you automate it. The whole point is to make your release process as fast, repeatable, and reliable as a machine. All this automation magic happens inside what we call a CI/CD pipeline. Just think of it like a software factory assembly line. The CI part, continuous integration, is where every new piece of code gets automatically tested. If it passes, the CD part, continuous deployment, automatically sends that code out to your users. This automated testing is absolutely crucial for catching bugs before a real customer ever sees them. Now, this next idea is a total game changer: infrastructure as code, or IAC. It basically means you treat your servers, your databases, your networks, everything just like software. You literally write code to define what your infrastructure should look like instead of manually clicking around in a console. And this is just a brilliant example of the power of automation. Using tools like Terraform or CloudFormation, you can spin up or tear down entire complex environments with a single command. This creates perfectly consistent, reproducible infrastructure every single time, which completely eliminates that classic, "but it worked on my machine" problem. So your code is live, it's out in the wild, but how do you know what it's actually doing? That's where observability comes in. It's about building systems that can tell you what's wrong, or even what might be about to go wrong, by collecting and analyzing the data they're already producing. This is that crucial feedback loop we were talking about earlier. We do this by collecting three key types of data: You've got metrics. Think of these as the vital signs of your system, like CPU usage. Then there are logs, which are like a super detailed diary of everything that's happened. And finally, traces, which are like a GPS tracker that follows a single user's request all the way through your system. Put them all together, and you get a complete health check. So let's put it all together. A developer pushes some new code. Instantly, the CI pipeline kicks off and runs all the tests. If they pass, the CD pipeline deploys it to production. If that new feature needs a new server, infrastructure as code provisions it automatically. And all the while, monitoring and observability tools are watching, ready to alert the team if anything looks off. It's a seamless, automated flow. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. Tools, practices, CI, CD, infrastructure as code. But if you only remember one thing from this, please let it be this final point about what DevOps truly is. You see DevOps engineer on job boards all the time, right? So after everything we've talked about, the culture, the collaboration, the shared goals, is it really just another job title? Is it just a person you hire to come in and do the DevOps? The answer is a huge, resounding no. DevOps isn't something one person does. It's a mindset that everyone on the team adopts. It's a commitment to shared ownership, to continuous improvement, and to breaking down the barriers that slow us all down. That is the real revolution of DevOps.